Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Breathe and Meditate class today. And you can see Luna's joining us. She's gonna breathe and meditate with us. So we'll be able to keep an eye on her as we have class today as well. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you joining me today, and I'm delighted to be able to guide you through some breath work and some meditation. So take what feels good and take it with you all through the rest of the day. So to start, we're going to just do a brief chat about posture and what to expect when meditating. And I guess the bottom line is that you're doing it right. If you're trying, you're doing it right. If you're here, you're doing it right. If you are finding your mind wander and you're bringing it back, you're doing it right. That's all normal. So I don't want you to get worried or down on yourself if you feel like I'm not doing it right because my mind keeps wandering away. I want you to think about it as building up that meditation muscle. So just like when we build muscle in the body, we do repetitions in order to build that muscle. Same with meditation. We're repeating the act of quieting the mind and bringing the thoughts back to the thing that we decided to focus on today. And so that could be an intention, that could be a word or a phrase, it could be an object, or it could be the breath, which is something that I typically cue for. And the thing that I love about the breath is that we bring it with us everywhere that we go. So if you are traveling, which many people aren't doing right now, or if you're just out taking a walk in the neighborhood, you can take a mindful walk and bring your thoughts back to your breath and back to your breath and really notice what is going on around you and inside of you rather than just kind of letting the world happen and getting caught up in each new thing that pulls our attention away. So I want you to keep that in mind, that if your attention wanders or gets pulled away, to notice it, acknowledge it with loving kindness, and bring it back, invite it back to the body, to the breath, or to the anchor, the thing of focus that you've chosen to focus on during this meditation practice. So with that, let's talk about posture and then we'll get started. So you want a nice, tall, long spine. You want the head, neck, and spine to be in a straight line. So whatever sitting or lying down posture you're in, as long as the head, neck, and spine are in a nice straight line and you're supported enough to be in that position for the duration of meditation, whether that's 2 minutes, 20 minutes, or longer, that's up to you. But the idea is to keep that nice, long, straight spine, to keep the energy flowing openly throughout the entire body. So find your posture. That could be anything that feels good for you. The postures that I recommend if you're new to meditation and you don't know what feels good for you is lying down on your back in Savasana or corpse-like pose, with the idea that we're going to have rebirth into the new day afterwards. And so what that looks like is just lying on your back facing the sky or the ceiling, arms out to either side at a 45-degree angle from the body, palms facing up, feet falling out to either side and legs outstretched from the body as well, with about 1.5 to 2 feet between the heels. So that's one really comfortable resting posture that you can just relax into for lengths of time. If you're sitting, if you have hip issues or knee issues, I recommend sitting on a chair where your knees and your feet are both about hip width apart. So knees are hip width apart from each other, feet are hip width apart from each other, and just settled straight on the floor and relaxing the body into the seat, sitting up tall. So you don't necessarily have to lean back, but if you are leaning back, making sure that there's a cushion or something behind you to hold you up nice and straight and tall. Or like me, you might choose to sit in a cross-legged position. So I'm in half lotus posture. So one leg's on the bottom, the other leg is stacked on top with my knees bent. It's kind of like crisscross applesauce, except one ankle's on top while one ankle's on the bottom rather than crossed at the ankles. And then you can do whatever you like with your hands. You can do a posture where you're resting one palm in the other and you have your thumbs touching. You can have the hands facing up or down on the legs, or if there is a mudra or specific hand posture that you'd like to do, I welcome you to do that as well. So now that we're settled, now that we're comfortable, I'm going to invite you to bring your focus to the breath. Bring your focus to the gentle rise and fall of the chest. Bring your focus to the nostrils, the place where the air is entering and leaving the body. Bring your focus to your lungs. Notice them expand on the inhale. And bring the focus to your diaphragm. Notice that as you take a deep, big inhale and you're relaxing, that the diaphragm moves down to create more space for the lungs to expand. And as you breathe out, the diaphragm moves back up, finding that space again. And this is a great way to know that you're doing deep belly breathing or belly breath, is when you can feel that diaphragm moving up and down. You notice the stomach expanding and contracting with the breath. So as you inhale, the stomach is soft, it expands. As you exhale, the stomach comes back towards the body, same as the chest. Inhaling, the chest and the stomach expand as the chest fills with air, and exhaling, they both come back towards the body. So we'll do a couple of deep, long breaths together, inhaling, filling the lungs up from the bottom to the middle, all the way to the top. And we'll exhale from the top of the breath to the middle of the breath, all the way to the bottom. Now you can focus on something here with your eyes. You can close your eyes if you'd like to. Do what feels good for you. And we'll inhale, filling the lungs up from the bottom to the middle, all the way to the top. Fully expanding the lungs. And then exhaling from the top of the lungs to the middle of the lungs, all the way to the bottom of the lungs, relaxing the body. Inhale, fill the lungs all the way up, from the bottom to the top. Completely filling the lungs. And exhale, relaxing the body, relaxing through the breath. And as you inhale and as you exhale, I invite you to notice how the body feels. How do you feel? Do you feel a little bit more relaxed? Do you feel calm? Do you feel a little bit more centered than you were just a few breaths ago? Or do you feel something else entirely? I want you to just acknowledge that. Take note of it. So often in our lives, we try to push away feelings, we try to make ourselves feel something different or ignore a situation, focus on something else. And so this space that we have together is just a really good time to take stock of how you're feeling and just notice if it's a feeling that you want to be feeling or not. And of course, it's possible to feel so many different things at the same time. And so noticing which of those feelings that we're feeling, we're enjoying, and we want to live into and lean into a little bit more. And which of those feelings are kind of taking over when we don't want them to. And how do we acknowledge them and invite them to sit at the table without grabbing the mic, without taking charge, without leading all of the other feelings and emotions that we have. And this awareness allows us to choose rather than letting worry or fear or uncertainty guide our decision making. We can say, I know worry, fear, and uncertainty are at this table, but I'm passing the mic to love and acceptance, and instead, I'm inviting them to lead. So take a few moments here with me. Focus inward. Name your emotions. Think about them. You can name them out loud. Or you can just think about them, bring them to mind. What are all of the things that you're feeling right now, just in this moment? And I want you to imagine a beautifully set dinner table. And I want you to invite all of these emotions, not leaving anybody out, to come and sit at that table. Notice, what does the table look like? Is it modern? Is it classic? Is it antique? What does the room look like? How is it decorated? Where are you? Is this a place that you've been before? Is it a new place to you in your imagination? How is it lit? Is it flooded with bright sunlight? Is it lit by soft lamps or candles? Are there mirrors, paintings, decorations? Or is it plain and sparse? Notice the space that you're in. And we've invited all of these emotions to join you at the table. We're greeting them at the door. We're inviting them in one by one. In comes joy. That's always a lovely one to have at the table. In comes fear. We're inviting fear in just as well. Who else is joining you? I want you to think about those emotions. How are they represented in your mind? Are they ethereal? Are they embodied? Are they objects? How are they represented at your table? And it is your table. This is your house. You get to decide. And we're inviting these emotions to sit down. They're sitting down. We're sitting down along with them. We're all at the table together. And I want you to notice the interplay of these emotions with each other. Who seems to want to take charge? Who seems to always take charge? Who seems to sit back quietly, maybe pensive, maybe just content in their own space? Who seems to be interacting? Who maybe hasn't made it to the table? Maybe they're in the room, but for some reason, they haven't joined the others. I want you to see in your mind very clearly the role that each of these emotions are playing as they interact with each other in this moment, in this space, in your house. And as you're noticing these interactions unfold, I invite you to decide who's not getting enough time, who's getting too much of your time and your energy, who's being overly demanding, and who's not maybe taking enough space. And as you notice these interactions unfold, I invite you to decide how harmony will be created at this table. Are you allowing the guests to work it out for themselves? Or are you stepping in and creating a different atmosphere? Somehow, one way or another. And if so, how? As you watch this movie unfold behind your eyes, as you imagine this scenario unfold, think about the role that you're playing at the table. And how are you treating your emotions? Are you treating them all similarly, with loving kindness, letting them know they're all allowed to be there? Or are you treating some differently than others? Are you elevating some and demonizing others? especially if anger is at the table, for example. Are you pretending like anger's not there? Or are you welcoming anger and inviting anger to be with the others? To keep things under control. Is love at your table? We know that love embodies many forms. And sometimes one of the hardest to accept and to create is self-love. It's easy to give our love away to other people. And maybe it's not so easy to give some of that love back to ourselves. And of course, there is that love of pure goodness, that divine or universal love that holds all of us. And maybe that love is quiet and reserved, waiting for us to acknowledge that it's there at our table as well. Or maybe your table is full of completely different emotions and dynamics than any of the ones I've named. And that's great. As you have either affected change or not, I want you to notice if there's a change in the room, if there's a change at the table between who's doing the talking, who's doing the listening, who's leading, and maybe even who's invited. Maybe there was somebody at the door who didn't feel welcome, like shame or embarrassment. And now we welcome them in, realizing that every single emotion that we carry is part of the human experience. And as our evening comes to a close, or morning, or afternoon, or middle of the night, whatever time it is, whatever space it is, maybe it's outside of time entirely, but as our time together at the table comes to a close, I invite you to thank your guests for joining you, to thank your guests for being here now, and to let them know they're all welcome. And as you see them to the door, I invite you to take a few moments to take stock of how you feel now. And as you yourself walk through the door, I invite you to wiggle your fingers and toes and gently move your body, opening up your eyes when you're ready and joining me back here. We'll take a few deep breaths together. Inhaling, filling the lungs up from the bottom to the middle, all the way to the top. And exhaling from the top of the lungs to the middle of the lungs, all the way to the bottom of the lungs. Inhale, fill up the lungs from the bottom, all the way to the top. And as you exhale, let go of anything that's not serving you. Watch it float out the window and away. As you inhale, inhale what you need right now in this moment. Imagine it entering your psyche, entering your spirit, bringing exactly what you need in this moment. And as we exhale, I want to thank you so much for being here today. May we walk forward through this day and into the world in love, in light, and in acceptance. Have a beautiful week, everybody. I'll see you next week.